Hello, hello, Awesome Soul here, and I am interviewing Chad, aka XSO. He is one of the web and community managers over at 5 Studios Interactive, the team behind D.R.O.N.E. So, Chad, let me start out by, well, you can introduce yourself, I guess.
Hi, Awesome Soul. Yes, my name is Chad, XSO from 5 Studios Interactive, and I'm very happy to be talking with you, answering any drone development questions that you or the community may have. I've been in web design, development, computer applications, software programming for about 25 years, and I'm very happy to be part of FSI.
Awesome. This interview might be the very first introduction for some people into the game. So, what exactly is D.R.O.N.E?
D.R.O.N.E is a community-based game that allows the users to totally customize the environments, the drones, the weapons, the armor, the paint. Pretty much all of the control is given to the players, which I believe has not been done successfully before.
Yeah, so the power is really in the player's hands. They can choose to make whatever they want, and some players might focus on more of the map building aspect, or others might go for more of the drone building aspect, or both.
Exactly. You can have a very heavily armored drone that can withstand multiple attacks, or you can have a very light and agile drone that allows for fast maneuverability, but is very delicate. So there are a ton of options available to the players.
And speaking of tons of options, I have taken in a lot of questions from the viewers. The first one is, will there be lots of personalization options, like purely cosmetic parts and custom paint?
Yes, we will have all kinds of decals per cube or block colorization, separate layered colors, decoration meshes like spoilers, antennas, and things like that.
Will there be sort of glass parts? So if you wanted to make a cockpit, could that be possible?
Absolutely.
So, next up, will there be long-range / high-caliber weapons, such as a howitzer or a heavy-duty weapon?
Yes, we do have tons of weapons. Recoil and compensation components will make it into the game as well. At this point, not sure when, but they will definitely be in the game.
Keeping in line with weapons, what about missiles? Will there be missiles with tracking or without tracking? Or are you opting to make it a bit more skill-based, so no tracking whatsoever?
Well, there will be different kinds of missiles, fire and forget, as well as several different tracking types, heat, noise, optical, etc. There will also be countermeasures like flares and shafts. Those are planned as well. Missiles also have different properties like turn speed and accuracy, so a missile can be evaded by a good pilot.
That's very interesting. So there's even sort of a skill-based counter, I guess you could say. So if you hear a missile coming towards you, you can fire out your flares, for example, but if you don't hear it in time, then it will obviously hit you.
Precisely.
That's also another interesting thing. So there is a sound system in the game. Would different missiles be louder or more quiet than others?
A larger, perhaps slower missile would have a louder, lower sound, whereas a slimmer or sleeker projectile weapon would have a higher pitched and a different tone noise. So I think that is definitely going to make it into the game.
Great. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Will we be able to put signs down on the map maker and have things like custom images uploaded from our computer be able to be placed on the map?
Those are still in discussion, as these would need moderation.
And even if that was to be added, I'm sure it wouldn't be added right away. Seems like something a bit more down the road. All right, so this has been brought up a few times by you guys, but for those who haven't been tuning in, will there be custom game modes?
We are planning to have a game mode / rule set editor, which will allow for countless custom game modes. We plan to have a lot of options when it comes to the winning conditions. So the short answer is yes.
Nice. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more options added gradually as the game goes on as well.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to building your drone, how exactly will that work?
Well, the frame or chassis works with a block system, but it's very different from what people know from other games. On top of these, functional components will be attached, which works in a more traditional way. So more information on this is going to be revealed later.
Got to keep your secrets.
Of course.
Now, here's one that I believe you guys have been fairly hush-hush about, but what game engine are you using?
We can't answer this right now. We are discussing it with the engine company to have a cross-promotion.
Okay. That's a decent amount of information. I guess we'll have to take what we can get.
That's about as much information as the team can provide at this point in time.
No worries. I totally understand. How much of a following do you expect to have, that sort of a good enough amount for you to start your Kickstarter campaign?
We are currently aiming at 20,000 followers that have signed in on our Help to Kickstart Drone page. We're close to 25% of that goal at this point. That's the short answer.
So, of course, if you guys are interested, links to everything will be in the description down below. So if you want to check out their website, it's down there. Now, how will progression systems work? Is there a sort of rank climbing thing we have to do, or what about leveling up? And how will players obtain and unlock parts?
Well, progression is a thing. There will be various ways to rank up, but it boils down to get reputation and fame. This is needed for sponsorings, and sponsors will provide part licenses and funds to drone operators. And a similar thing will exist for arena architects. So basically, it boils down to reputation and fame.
So that's interesting. You can kind of specialize if you want to be more of a map builder. That's a totally viable option, so you could level up doing that.
Correct.
So I do know a fair amount of people who definitely want to focus a bit more on map building and just flex their creative muscles that way.
Absolutely. I mean, we believe that the players have such imagination and creativity, whether it be in the map building, whereas other players may be more creative with building drones. And we have showcased some of the drones that we have created ourselves. Everything from like centipedes to the water drones to tank-based drones to flying drones. There is just a limitless possibility of the types of drones that you can create. And I believe that will apply as well to terrain creation and building arenas themselves.
Yeah, I'm personally very interested in the insect legs. I definitely want to see a bit more of those. But on the topic of movement parts, will you be able to activate and deactivate them with a press of a button? So for example, if you have wheels and hover fans, if you press, for example, the G key, for example, could you deactivate your wheels and then activate your hover fans, or would both be active at the same time?
Short answer is yes. The mixed movement is planned, but we are not yet sure if switching will happen automatically or manually.
Now, will there be drone sharing? So, for example, a blueprint store or something similar like that?
Yes.
Wonderful. How will the game handle a friend system / party system? And what about clans? Will those be included?
Well, clans are a big thing for us. Team play is a big aspect of Drone, and we want to motivate people to play the game competitively and seriously. So little matches just for fun will, of course, also be possible. But clans are definitely a big thing and a huge aspect of Drone. So, yeah.
Cool. I know quite a lot of people who have some sort of gaming communities out there that definitely would like to start a clan.
And because that is a very popular thing to have in games, we definitely want to incorporate that into Drone as well.
Great. Sort of on the same topic, when it comes to clans, will there be an in-game voice chat for them, or will they need to use an external program?
You know, unfortunately, we don't know yet, and we need to look into this. That I think will require a lot of overhead as far as the server requirements, incorporating that in-game. It's something that we're definitely looking into, but at this point, we're just not sure yet.
Okay. So, moving on to different map types. How exactly will space maps differ from playing on the surface of planets? How exactly is the gameplay going to differ there?
Well, obviously, no gravity. It will have a totally different look, different environmental factors like temperature, the absence of air or gas. That means that drones need to use the right propulsion, which again comes back to if a propulsion system is reliant upon using oxygen or nitrogen or hydrogen, if those are absent in the space environment, you need to choose the right propulsion system for a space drone or combat in space.
Yeah, on a similar note though, I have seen in, I think, the very first trailer, if you pause it, you can sort of make out that some parts are going to work for underwater sections where other parts won't work for that as well. So that's kind of a similar thing.
Exactly. We have many different types of propulsion systems. Some are only suitable for underwater. Some would be suitable for perhaps on land. Some have the spinning rotors. Some have the glowing hover pads. And other ones would be used in a space type environment.
Really sounds like there's a lot of variety here. When it comes to the map editor, other than what we've seen so far, what features do you have planned for that?
Well, we have functional objects. We have switches that control other objects, traps and environmental dangers, moving obstacles, and that's just to list a few. So I'm sure that you and the viewers will have a ton of questions about functional objects. What are those? Switches that control other objects. Can we do this? Can we do that? There are a multitude of options that are available. So these functional objects, switches that control other objects, traps, environmental dangers, etc., provide a limitless number of options or possibilities for the players.
I can really see a lot of, I guess, mini-game type maps coming out of those, with the ability to press buttons, maybe a wall would come up and block players off so they would have to go around it, or, things like that.
Yes. That's not a 100% guarantee, but that is our vision. That is our goal, to allow the players to create what they want.
Of course, and I should reiterate here, this game still is in development, so everything that's being discussed here is not necessarily going to be added right away. Some will be added early on, some will be added later down the line. Now, kind of going back to the whole air versus space versus land type thing, will different weapons work in different environments? Will some be better underwater? Will some be better in space? Etc., etc.
Well, again, this is going to be a pretty short and basic answer, and I think the best example I could give is, yes, there will be different weapons that work in different water, space, air. For example, some are unusable, like electric weapons in water. They're also pretty bad in rain. So if you take that as an example, then you can determine, okay, well, this type of propulsion system or this type of weapon will not work underwater. This type will not work in the air.
Really sounds like you need to specialize your drones for different situations. Sounds quite interesting.
It does. Another example or a comparison would be the NASCAR type racing car versus a Formula One race car versus a rally car. They're all driving, they're all racing, but for the different environments and the different situations and conditions from which they compete, their craft, their car has to be designed differently. And it's the same type of thing that is applied to drone.
Nice. It's quite a lot of detail there.
We hope so.
Huh. I'm sure there will be. Certainly sounds very impressive. When it comes to speed caps, like the maximum speed you can go, is there a limit? Like, for example, no drones, no matter how many parts you add, can go above 300 miles per hour.
Yeah, we'll probably add this. An acceleration would be a benefit then. The cap, it would be pretty high, though.
That's completely understandable, because it would be a little bit ridiculous if you've got a drone that just has all thrusters going around like 1,000 miles per hour.
It would. So there definitely has to be some limitations on that. We're not quite sure what they are, but it's going to be pretty high.
Yeah, okay, good to know. Now, on the topic of movement, will there be inertia dampeners in space, or will there be drag in space as well?
Well, without dampener components, there won't be drag in space.
All right, simple enough. Here's something that I think I have seen, but maybe it's only because I've been watching and rewatching the trailers so many times that I've picked up on this. But could you have parts that transform into different parts? So, for example, a leg that turns into a wing.
Maybe. We can't say yet, but we have already thought about it, though. So it's definitely in our minds. We have thought about it. It's just a matter of, can we feasibly make that a reality in the game?
The closest thing that I can think of that I've seen so far is the insect legs sort of turn into little mini wings when you're flying, as well as the mech legs we've seen. They sort of fold up into the body when you're flying.
Yeah, exactly. That is something that we have considered and something that I know the devs are working on. It's a matter of importance versus urgent. So there are some things that we need to do first, and then later we can delve into other areas, such as this parts that transform into different parts.
What about highly specialized weapons, such as parts that lay traps, or what about a smoke dispenser, like laying down a smoke screen?
There will be highly specialized weapons. I can't say precisely which those will be, but yes, there will be some.
Yeah. Certainly adds to the variety when it comes to making drones. That's very nice. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, actually, because there is going to be so many varied and different parts. You won't exactly know what to expect when you come up against another drone.
Yes and no. There will obviously be rule sets for the arena. So if the arena is an underwater arena, then the drone would have to be specifically designed to battle or have combat in water. But there will definitely be a very large variety of drone types and abilities in that underground water arena.
So, going back to that electric weapon, for example, if you built yourself in a underwater-only arena, then the game would not let you bring the electric weapon, because it would be more or less useless underwater, correct?
Maybe, not 100% sure, that if someone did choose to equip an electric type weapon on an underwater drone, that once they went underwater and began to battle, that part may fire one time. Maybe it fires incorrectly. Maybe it shorts out and it fries one of the other systems, possibly the navigation or the propulsion system. So we're not sure, but there will definitely be limits to what they can and cannot do. And what the repercussions of those will be, I'm not sure.
Very interesting. So in one of the world builder teasers, they mentioned that drones will be able to hack doors and possibly keep them shut for a second. But will there be tools or weapons to maybe cut through the hack doors, or maybe even windows, for example?
Unhacking, definitely. Shooting a door open, maybe.
All right. I was definitely expecting the whole counter-hacking thing as well. That's going to be kind of interesting. Do you know how exactly the hacking will work?
The devs are pretty tight-lipped on that, and even if I did know how the hacking would work, I probably couldn't tell you.
Okay, no worries. I'm sure that's probably early in development. Now, speaking of testing things out, will there be beta testers? And if so, will they get some sort of special cosmetic? And how would you go about becoming a beta tester?
Game development companies need beta testers to test these games and find the bugs or the loopholes or to make any improvements that they need. So yeah, more than likely we're going to have beta testers. They will get something special or different to signify that they were, one of the beta testers. How exactly the FSI team will choose their beta testers is we're still discussing that at the moment.
All right. And how many drones will we be able to build? Is there a limit to how many you can store?
We don't know this yet, and we're going to have to look into how far we can go with that. If we put together some numbers and say there's 1,000 players or 10,000 players, and each of those players has 10 drones or 50 drones or 100 drones, that number can increase exponentially. So we definitely have to look into how far we can go with this and the number of drones that a player is able to build.
Okay. So I assume the drones would be saved server side then.
That, I believe, is the direction that the developers are going. Anything that is saved on the client side, on the player side, opens up a can of worms as far as hacking and cheating and modifying outside of what drone allows. So yeah, I definitely think it should be stored server side. That's the direction that we're aiming for.
Okay, makes perfect sense. So that's why we can't really have too many.
Right, because the server, I believe, would be storing all of the drones that the players create. So again, with X number of players times Y number of drones, that number can get very large very quickly. So it's something that we're looking into about the number of drones a player is able to build.
Okay. I saw on the website that you have plans for tank tracks, wheels, wings, propellers, thrusters, hover pads, etc., etc. How many other movement types are you planning to make?
I mean, aren't these all? You got any ideas?
Give us a certainly sounds like it to me. I can't quite think of anything else.
These are ideas or thoughts that we had. So we think they're all great. If you have ideas, just give us a shout out and say, hey, I think this would be a great propulsion type, or this would be. Let us know, and we'll see if we can incorporate that into the game.
I have seen a few players say that they would like underwater only part, so like a boat propeller kind of part.
I think that's definitely a good idea. We will definitely have certain propulsion systems that are specific to underwater environments.
When are we getting a Powerball teaser? I have gotten a few questions about that, but I guess you can go in and say, what exactly is Powerball?
Okay, well, as soon as we have time to make one, you'll get the Powerball teaser. We've just got our hands full with, doing a lot of things behind the scenes that the players or the community isn't aware of.
So from what I understand, Powerball is basically a sort of physics-based sports game.
Yeah, I think that would be a good assessment of it.
Now, we come to the very last question. How exactly will ground drones be able to fight the flying drones? Will they be separated, or will they be in the same match? Also, from what we have seen so far, it only looks like guns can aim forward. This seems like a massive problem for ground drones when it comes to fighting air drones. But will we be able to put our weapons on a swivel mount so we can aim them upwards?
This is really a good question, and I have been reading in the comments on the Discord channel about things such as this. Definitely. You will definitely be able to put your weapons on swivel mounts so you can aim them up. It's not going to be just a forward-facing weapon. We want ground-air combat and vice versa. So yes, definitely a possibility, and we would never limit something to only aiming forward if you have drones flying over your head. So definitely.
That's good to know, because I'm sure people would like to mix things up a bit, not always play just ground drones and fighting ground drones, or air drones only fighting air drones.
Exactly, and that's why we have given the power to the players to create whatever types of arenas they want. I mean, me personally, if I create an arena, well, what if I want to make the arena that's half on land and half underwater? And some of the battle could take place under the water, some of the battle could take place on the land, and maybe there's some drones flying around up in the air. So you could create a mixture of not necessarily environments, but fighting conditions.
Now, I do have one personal question that I didn't actually write down. So, how many players can we expect to see in a match? Are we looking at 24, 16, 8?
Again, I can't go into the details or even give you a number. I would guesstimate between 4 to 8 players per team. So that would be 8 to 16. It could be significantly higher. Again, it all depends on the on how the developers incorporate the multiplayer combat and how efficient we can make it. Of course, we could offer the ability to have, let's say 32 players, but the gameplay would not be efficient. It would not be enjoyable, and that's something that we don't want. We want the gameplay to be very smooth, fluid, and enjoyable for all of the people. And we will make the number of people to play in a multiplayer match meet that accordingly.
Yeah, just having too many people on the screen as well would sort of bog down some people's computers.
Most people's computers. I mean, if we look back at Crysis 3, right, that was like the benchmark for years of how high can your graphics go. And in this day and age, with people with 1080 Ti's and all of this, with 8 gigabytes of RAM and running dual and triple SLI things, that's really, really expensive. And not everyone can play at those resolutions or afford those types of graphic cards. So it's really important to us as game developers to make the game run smoothly on mid-range, video cards like a 670, for example, or maybe even like a 980M, card. We want it to be able to run smooth on that and have good quality graphics. It might not be the top quality, fantastic ultimate settings like you would get on a 1080 Ti, but definitely playable and enjoyable.
It's very good to know, because I have seen a lot of comments asking that, will I be able to play this? Oh, I don't think I'll be able to play this. Oh, my horrible old computer won't be able to run this game. So it seems like you guys definitely are addressing that problem. At least sort of for mid-range PCs, we'll be able to run this no problem if you just lower the graphics settings in your settings menu.
That's definitely what we're going for. I mean, obviously, this is not going to run on a Pentium 90. It's not going to run on a Celeron. If you've got onboard graphics, I don't see much promise in playing it on those types of devices. Again, I'm not 100% sure. I know that the devs are working, night and day on this to get it to work as efficiently as possible for a majority of the graphics cards out there, and definitely mid-range systems. And they've come a long way in the past month or month and a half, and made significant progress in optimizations and getting it to look as beautiful as it can on mid-range software or hardware.
So hopefully that lays a few of the viewers' fears to rest.
I hope so.
Yeah. Now, that does it for all of the questions, but Chad, is there anything you would like to address the viewers with directly?
I would just like to thank all of the viewers and people who make comments and give us suggestions. We really value the community. The community is what drives us. We are creating this game for the community. So we appreciate all of your comments, your thoughts. Just subscribe, share, help us to make this game a reality. The sooner that happens, the sooner D.R.O.N.E will be released, and we can all have a lot of fun playing it.
So yeah, like he said, make sure you subscribe to them on Twitter, and then also YouTube as well. Make sure you check out their website also. Links to that will be in the description, and I'm sure I'll probably put a link to their YouTube channel in the end card as well.
Awesome, Soul. Thank you so much for allowing me to answer some of the community questions, some of your questions. We're always here for you and for the community, and again, just look for the next YouTube video that should be coming out shortly.
Awesome. So yeah, big, massive thanks to Chad for showing up. Show some love for that down below. But yeah, is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap this up?
That's it. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to the next round of questions.
Fantastic. Hopefully we'll be doing this again sometime in the future.
Sounds good.
Okay. So with that, guys, I thank you all so very much for watching. I, of course, have been the Awesome Soul, and I will see you next time. Take care.